Hi there. I'm so glad that you are joining me today. In this video, we are going to be talking about what could actually be causing you to be sick to start with. So, I want to start with an analogy because if you got in your car and your car was making a noise, you would not ignore it. You would not just put a temporary band-aid fix on it unless that was just like until you could get where you're going. Like if you have a flat tire, you're not just going to drive around on the spare tire forever and expect it to work like your regular tire. You with me? Okay, but that is what we do with our bodies. It's like our body gives some kind of signal that it's not okay, some kind of sign that, hey, things are not working like they should be working. And we either ignore that and say, oh, everybody has that, or we put a little temporary band-aid on it. So, for example, if we get acid reflux or heartburn, we don't figure out what's causing the heartburn and then stop that, prevent that. We either say, well, that's just part of life, everybody gets heartburn, or we take some Tums or take some Pepcid or some kind of medicine for it, which is just a band-aid. It's a temporary solution for a permanent problem because it comes back all the time. So I want to make that analogy because, of course, we should be taking better care of our bodies than we do our cars, but we don't. And then, we start with one symptom and then another symptom and then another symptom, and we're still like, well, everybody has seasonal allergies. Everybody gets heartburn. Everybody has memory loss sometimes. I'm getting older, or whatever the case may be. But we are making excuses. We would never, ever do that with our car. One noise, and we're going into the shop, right? Now, when we go in to get our car fixed, we would not go to a mechanic who just worked on one part of the car if our car was making noise. We would not say, okay, I'm going to take it to the guy who does batteries. Okay, I'm going to take it to the guy who does, I don't know what I'm talking about, your fuel pumps. Okay, I'm going to take it to a guy who does spark plugs. And you would not go to all these different mechanics that would specialize in one specific part of the car because you know that all the parts of the car work together. So you need somebody who knows how the entire car works. Same thing for your body. All the parts work together. They do not work in isolation. So the mere idea that we go to one doctor for our brain and one doctor for our heart and one doctor for our joints and one doctor for our blood sugar, it makes no sense if we really stop and think about it. Our whole body is working together. We need somebody who knows about all the things. And we call them specialists, but if everyone is suffering with a lot of the same symptoms, then it's not really that special. Can we agree on that? Okay, so we're going to think about our body like a car, and we're going to realize that it all works together. It doesn't work, each part is not working individually, okay? Our kidneys work with our heart, works with our liver. It all works together, works with our brain, works with our gut. Everything is connected, okay? And when it's making noise, when our body is screaming for some help in one area, we are not going to ignore it and assume that that is just part of life. It is not. Let me tell you. Okay, I want to go ahead and talk to you and tell you a little bit about my story. So, I made some notes because there's a lot to it. I had always, as a child, I was one of those kids. I took an antibiotic every year. I got all my shots. I was the firstborn, so my mom, anytime I sneezed, my mom ran me to the doctor, probably got an antibiotic. It was before they knew that they shouldn't give antibiotics all the time. So I got one all the time. And I had seasonal allergies growing up, and I had a very weak immune system from all the antibiotics, I'm sure. If, in case you don't know, when you take an antibiotic, it actually wipes out your immune system for the next 6 to 9 months. So, just long enough for flu season to roll around again, and then I was sick again. As an adult, I would say that I looked pretty healthy, although I knew my immune system wasn't great until I had my first child. And after I had my first child, it seemed like after that I started, like I was gaining about 10 pounds a year. And I didn't feel like I was eating any different. Now, I did not have good, healthy eating habits when I was young. And so that was catching up with me. So allergy symptoms. I ended up taking allergy medicine, a nasal spray and some kind of allergy medicine. And then I even ended up getting allergy shots. And of course, I had indigestion or heartburn, and then I was able to take a pill for that. And then I had some sleep issues, and I was given some medicine to help me sleep. But when my health really crashed was the year I turned 40. So I was teaching at a school in Knoxville, Tennessee, and they painted our school building, which just didn't happen often. And they painted my individual room in, some really strong smelling paint. But when they painted the outside trim and doors and things, they painted that with this like shellac kind of smelling stuff. And it was so strong. I immediately broke out in hives, and I was unable to get that under control, period, again. So I broke out in hives. I was given antibiotics. I was given prednisone. I started to get better. And as soon as I came off the antibiotics and the prednisone, my hives came back. And they were bad. And they were getting in my eye. They were super itchy. Really, really imposing on my life here. So for 6 months or so, I was constantly on antibiotics and some prednisone or a steroid to keep the hives at bay. Then I started having some memory issues. I started having some hair loss to the point where I ended up having a bald spot. And that was the spring before I turned 40. On my 40th birthday, I was given this amazing party, an amazing birthday cake, red velvet, my favorite. My grandma used to make it. And I ate that cake, and I know I ate too much cake, and I was sick for about 2 weeks. And I finally, after 3 weeks of being sick, I thought, okay, that cake is not still with me. This can't still be the cake. So I started having a lot of stomach issues, and I started going to all these doctors and all these specialists, and I continued to start to have joint pain all over my body. I would have random fevers that put me in the bed for the weekend or 2 or 3 days at a time, and then they would go away. But my stomach issues were severe. Constant, either constipation or diarrhea or pain. I had this awful pain in my back. It felt like I had a knife in my back. And I ended up, it got so severe that I went probably a year and a half without eating a decent meal. I could not eat. And let me tell you, my body suffered for that. But what I was doing, I was going to an allergy doctor for the hives and my seasonal allergies. I was going to a gastroenterologist for my stomach issues. I was going to a rheumatologist for the joint pain and the random fevers. I also had some kidney issues, so I had a kidney doctor. I had blood sugar issues, so I had an endocrinologist for that. So I had all these slew of doctors, and I remember I finally called Vanderbilt. Now, I was sick for like 2 years, and I finally got an appointment at Vanderbilt, which is kind of the hospital to go to close to me. It's in Nashville, Tennessee. And I really was like, okay, this is it. This is it. This doctor at Vanderbilt is going to find the answer. And so I was really pumped up. I had it up here, in terms of expectation. So finally, my appointment rolls around. I go to the doctor at Vanderbilt. He tells me that I have um, irritable bowel syndrome, that, there's not really anything to do about it. He's going to give me some medicine. And I asked if there was things that I could do to help myself, maybe a certain diet or anything. And he said, no, you can eat whatever you want. Just take this medicine. It's just something that's going to be like this. And I remember leaving there and I was just shaking. I was thinking, it just did not sit with me in my gut. I thought, no, like I'm just supposed to wait to get sicker. Like I'm already snowballing. I was 40 years old and my bag of medication was had more medicine in it than my mother and my father, who were 70. Was not okay. And it was just, I was getting medicines faster and faster. And as I would take them, I was getting sicker and sicker. But I walked out of Vanderbilt that day and I thought, this is not how God made my body. I mean, if you cut off like a lizard's tail, it grows back. If I cut myself, it scabs over and heals. People have lost limbs, and before they were able to get medical treatment, those limbs have healed over by themselves. It did not sit right with me that I was sick and I was just intended to be sick and get sicker. I believed, in the Bible, it tells us that God promises us a life of abundance. And I knew that was not it. I was not able to live that life. I was not even able to take care of my family, go to my child's events. Like I was missing things in her high school life that would not ever have the chance to be at again. I was not able to go to the grocery, to fix dinner, to eat dinner, to clean the house. I was not living. I was just barely surviving. I ended up on 20 medications a day. I would take a lot of my medications would say, could cause drowsiness, do not drive, and I would take 4 or 5 of those before I left to go to work. Thankfully, I didn't work far from my house, but I was unable to get out of the house without those medicines. I could not drive more than 10 minutes away. I would be terrified because I would need to go to the restroom and not be able to get off the interstate or get to a restroom in time. So I was I had anxiety about traveling even across town. So I just knew. I'd read about the Proverbs 31 woman, and I knew that was not it. I'm supposed to be taking care of all these things as a Christian woman. That is what God has called me to do, and I'm unable to do it. And so nothing about that resonated with me. Now, I ended up going to a doctor who did natural health. And I do believe God always makes a way for you. And I'm hoping that for some of you, this is the way that He's making, and that you will really lean into that. So I ended up going to a natural doctor who treated the whole body. And the first thing that was different from my medical doctor, other than that she looked at my entire body and how it worked together, she looked at the root causes of disease. And there's only about 8 really root causes, 8 main categories. Let me tell you what these are, because one of these things are probably, if you are very sick, you probably have 2 or 3 of these things working against you right now. But these 8 things are heavy metal toxicity. You've come in contact with too many heavy metals, and that could be that you've ingested them in your food or water, or makeups, lotions, things like that have a lot of metals in them. Chemical products. Chemicals are in everything, our cleaners, artificial fragrances, so many things. Food sensitivities, probably not from the food itself, but probably from the pesticides and chemicals and things that are put on the food that we're eating today. And that's a whole conversation we'll have later about what is really food. Bad bacteria, viruses, fungi, like mold, parasites, and then stress or trauma. So those are the 8 things that could be making you sick. There's probably 2 or 3 of those making you sick. And what you have to do first thing, you have to find out what's causing your illness. So when I got to the natural doctor, I had 3 or 4 different types of fungus in my stomach. Um, I had a chemical sensitivity. I had an overload of chemicals. You know, your liver has to process all the chemicals that you take in. And so all the medicines that you take in have chemicals in them, and my liver could not process that. And as I was taking more and more medicine, I was getting sicker and sicker. My body was not able to process those chemicals. So you have to eliminate what's causing you to get well or to get sick. But I remember thinking as I went around from doctor to doctor, I never thought, what is causing me to be sick? I just wanted a diagnosis. I would have been happy with a label like, you have lupus. Okay, I could have dealt with that and gotten some medicine. Now, I'm so thankful that that was not what happened, because the side effects for autoimmune disease medicine is severe. So I'm really fortunate, blessed, and so thankful that I did not get that medication. But I just wanted a diagnosis at the time. Now, I want to go back to my car analogy. So let's say your car's making a noise and you take it in and he says, it's the alternator. Well, you're not going to say, okay, good. I'm so glad now I know it's the alternator. Okay. Well, it's going to keep making this noise, but at least I know it's just the alternator. No. You're going to say, what do we need to do to fix it? Not, can I limp around with this faulty alternator? How long am I going to be able to limp around with this faulty alternator? No. How long is this spare tire going to get me around? But that's what we do with our bodies. How long am I going to be able to limp around with this disease? That is not what God intended for you. He did not intend for you to limp around with disease throughout your entire life. Now, I don't have some fantasy idea that everybody will get well and that nobody will be sick. Of course not. There are diseases that are incurable. There are genetic diseases that we have no control over. Yes. But we all, in the whole world, we don't all have these same illnesses and are going to have them the rest of our life. No, we are not meant to limp around through our life. We are meant to be helpers to others. We are meant as Christians to give life to others, to speak life into others, to help our neighbor. We can't help our neighbor when we're sick. I cannot physically help you when I'm sick. I cannot financially help you when I'm paying out all this money to doctors and insurance and emergency room visits and having tests ran and paying for medicine that my insurance might not cover. I cannot be who I'm called to be. And so that's why I knew in my heart of hearts that God has more for me. John 10:10 says, I came so that they may have life and have it abundantly. And I knew when I went to Vanderbilt that that was not the abundant life that God promised me. I knew that I knew what I saw him do for a little lizard, and I'm more valuable than a little lizard to my God, my creator. I know the jobs and the things he created me for, and I was not able to do them because of my illness. And I knew that was not what he meant for me. I knew that was not his plan for my life. And it is not his plan for your life either. So all of these random illnesses that you're having, they're all connected. So when you get rid of the chemicals, you're gonna have your allergies gonna go away, the heartburn's gonna go away, your stomach trouble's gonna go away, your memory's going to start to be better. And like I said, if you are very sick, there's probably 2 or 3 of these things working against you. But it is not some horrible disease that's incurable, like you may have been told, or there's a good chance that it's not. There's a good chance that God has made a way if you just look to Him for what is causing this. How can I get rid of it? How do I need to treat this temple that He gave me to live in, so that I can do the things that He called me to do while I'm on this earth. So I hope this video was helpful, and um, I hope I really just want you to lean into this and pray about it and think about it. Like, does it make sense? Because what we're doing in Western medicine for well care does not make sense. For emergent care, it's great. If you have a heart attack, go to the emergency room. If you're in an accident, go to the emergency room. They will take fantastic care of you. But if you are wanting to be well, to feel good, to have energy for your body to work like God designed it to work, you are not going to find those answers in traditional medicine. So I hope you will stay with me, continue on to the next video. In the next video, we're going to talk about why what you're doing now is not working. So I hope this cleared some things up. I hope you're starting to lean in to what God is speaking to you right now. I will see you on the next video.